Hello, good evening, everyone. Um, it's really good to be here again today. So happy to be here. Pretty much excited. It's a good day to be alive, actually. Well, let me start by showing you my shirt. It's a Roadmap MBA t-shirt shirt given to me by Steve, the founder. So you can see I'm adorning everything Roadmap MBA today, and I'm so excited about that. So welcome to the show officially. This is the Roadmap MBA show, and this is where we've come. I present on the show once in 2 weeks, and I have the leverage to discuss whatever I want to discuss. If you're joining us for the first time, the Roadmap MBA is actually a business education platform. Interestingly, recently, I begin to imagine that the Roadmap MBA has gone beyond business education. It's become a platform for anyone who's alive, really, because there are various facets of what we discuss on the Roadmap MBA. There is the part where we talk about mental health. I'll talk about different things, that impact on the human life and the human living. In fact, the goal really is to ensure that we're able to build a community of, learners, value creators, earners, people who are eager to grow and to add value to the society. That's the goal. That's the goal of the Roadmap MBA. So if this is your first time, this is a platform where our founder, Steve Pugh, formed the company a while ago with a huge goal. My daughter usually likes the word ginormous. So she, in fact, I learned that word from her. And the first time she said that word, I felt like, come on, I'm not sure that word exists, So we have a ginormous goal on the Roadmap MBA, which is to reach 5 billion people across the globe with free, affordable, accessible education. And in the recent time, the model has been, has found new meanings, if you will, to say that beyond just creating accessible education to 5 billion people, the goal is also to help them navigate the what next. The what next. So I have the education now. What do I do with it? And that's where the whole learning and earning comes into play. So if you are there, you're just, you're passing by for the first time, you need to stop by. Get on our website, roadmapmba.com. Apply for the free course. Get on the free course, start learning, join our platform. If you have questions, you can send to the guest at roadmapmba.com. And, just join this train. Trust me, in the next few months, this will be one place where everybody wished they were, because we're building something really interesting. I usually don't tag along anything that's not fun. So trust me, for me to be here as a guest presenter, it's a fun thing. It's a fun thing happening here. So if you're just joining, please subscribe to our YouTube channel at Roadmap MBA. Go on LinkedIn, please subscribe, just so that, and then turn on your notifications. So whenever there is a live stream or a live class or something, you get a notification and you are the first person to come online. We talk about everything and anything. In fact, Steve and myself, I'm not sure if we had some sleep. We're tracking the global issues that's been happening in the world and sharing updates amongst ourselves. Steve will be talking much about it within the week anyways, but just to tell you that, the breaking news may be landing on Bloomberg's and CNN, but the breaking what if, dissecting the breaking news happens on the Roadmap MBA, because this is where we talk about what's the impact? How does it impact you as a person? What does it mean? And that's the so what. That's what we do here. Okay, so welcome to the show once again. My name is Tony. Or if you want to call me Ifeanyi, that's my native name. Originally from Nigeria, and I'm currently based in the UK, and I do this as an aside to what I do on the regular. So welcome to the show. A little caveat here: the ideas we'll be sharing here are strictly my ideas. The ones I'll be sharing here are strictly my ideas and not the ideas or positions of my employers or any companies that I'm associated with. It is my idea. And basically what we do here is to reflect on topical issues, instigate conversations, right? Instigate conversations, stir up that hunger to do more, to create value, to research, to do more, right? So we may not be subject matter experts in everything we talk about here, but what we do is that we try to stir up the conversation such that everyone and anyone is able to begin to look into them and begin to chat in course, and get some understandings from there. Yeah, I can see some chats. Hi, Tony. Yeah, looking forward to this one on Chat GPT-4. Yeah, that's good. Good. So welcome, stick in there. Just let's make it interactive. If you have a comment, please drop it there. I'll try to look at your comments and see how we can make it a little bit interactive today. Okay. So today we will be looking at something very topical, and that's what we do on the roadmap. We try to we pride ourselves as the kings and queens of mindfulness, right? We are on the moment. We try to gauge the mood of everyone and see what do the people want to learn about, And if you have been following, the trends, you will find out that this is a topic that broke out sometime last week, and there is a prediction that the world is going to change this week, right? So where else do you want to hear about the changing of the world other than on the Roadmap MBA? And you want to know, how do I position myself for this change that is coming, right? So stick on here. We're trying to look at the journey to GPT-4. We'll do kind of a generalistic view and approach to what GPT-4 is, and we will try to kind of synthesize around what is in this for me. How can I prepare? How can I be ready for this future that is coming very fast, right? So stick around, and then let's share in a few slides on this and just share a few things around GPT-4. Okay. All right. So we will be looking at what's new with the Roadmap MBA. As usual, we'll tell you what's happening new, what's up with the Roadmap MBA. And then I'll tell you about what I have been up to. We do this on the program. We tend to want to share with you our life experiences within the last time, between the last time we were on the show and now. And that makes you understand that we're also very human like you. We also jump on the trains, we have deadlines to meet, we have kids running around and pouring tea on our laptops and stuff like that. So we're normal people, and we're communicating with normal people, and we make it normal, okay? So I'll tell you what I've been up to, and then we'll go into the nitty-gritty of the conversation today, which is something around singularity, really, because when you talk about GPT-4, you are also referring to, you are scratching the domain of singularity. We'll talk about singularity, and we'll ask the question, is singularity coming very close? And then we'll talk about the road to GPT-4. So what's new? What's new with the Roadmap MBA? One of the most important things is that we are looking for new presenters. So if you're out there and you have a flair to do what I'm doing now, you have a flair to discourse, to anchor, a show, please reach out to us on the guest at roadmapmba.com, or just go on our website. You'll be able to get a contact there, drop a message there, and someone will get in touch with you. Steve is actively looking to grow this platform and bring more people with more diverse thinking, so we can grow, we can converge into something really good and really big for everyone. Just to note as well that the app is also fully ready. So you can go on Google Play or your App Store and download the app and get studying. It's a very interactive, very interesting, user-friendly application. So get on there. The good thing is that everything is free. Come on, there is no barrier to studying, to learning about business, strategy, finance, sales, marketing, communication, all of that. There is no barrier for you now to learning. So get on there. And another very good thing is that we're now live in over 50 countries, which is a massive plus. And kudos to Steve. I'll just take my coffee, sorry. And Steve made me another beautiful coffee today again. I guess Steve now has a plan B. Okay, so what have I been up to in the last 2 weeks? For the first time in a long time, I attended a workshop, and it was really interesting. I think I've missed the whole in-person engagements. In fact, I was talking to one of my senior colleagues, whom I've not seen in over 2 years, previous senior colleague, within the last few days, and I told her about this experience because I couldn't help sharing it with anybody I met. How interesting the workshops were, and how I enjoyed the in-person nature of the workshop. And she told me, said, Tony, humans are not wired for remote. We are wired as social beings. And so don't feel so excited, because that is exactly what you're supposed to feel, and I felt like, wow, I was getting so bored with sitting behind my computer most times and then talking to people over screens. It was very good to shake people's hands, look into their eyes, argue with them on things that I didn't agree with. And then I learned something new within the last 2 weeks, hybrid thinking. In fact, I was reading a book, Intersection. I was reading that book and I came across, and I'm going to share a bit of that as part of my reflection on this conversation. I discovered that there is a skill called hybrid thinking, and it is majorly for people with, who are in what we call connector roles. I'll talk about it as part of my conversation today. And it was clear to me that I am a hybrid thinker. In fact, I had to quickly go and update my LinkedIn that I am a hybrid thinker. Someone who is able to, get into different scenarios and then bring them back and make sense of them. That's what a hybrid thinker is. And, it was very clear to me. In fact, I was so excited when I saw it, honestly. And then learning a lot about the whole failed banks in the US, making me go study more about risk management in banking and all that. Okay, there's someone on the chat. Hi, I want to offer promotion to your channel. Okay, someone will get in touch with you on that. Okay. And then the elections in Nigeria, of course, is still raging. It's still raging. We have elections in Nigeria, and we are still selecting our leaders. So it's something that keeps me on my mobile all the time, checking and seeing updates and all that. But thankfully, it's been peaceful. We've not had any cause for riots and all that. So that's a plus. So you can pop in there and tell me, how's your week been? What have you been up to within the last 2 weeks? I'll be happy to read your comments. So let's get into the meat of things, really. So we're looking at GPT. I'm sure the first time I heard about the word GPT, and I'm being very honest here, the first time I heard about the word GPT was ChatGPT. And I'm sure a lot of people fall within that same sphere where we don't get to know about stuff until we hear about it, And there is no shame to know that you didn't know something, you don't know something for 100 years, but you know it now anyways, and you're knowing it now, so that's fine. So when ChatGPT came out sometime in November, it took the world by surprise. We've all been I've worked on chatbot projects. I've deployed projects where I implemented chatbot solutions in organizations, but there was no sense as to what the underlying, the underlying architecture was, right? Because when you talk about the whole GPT, it's all about AI at the back end, training some, pre-trained algorithms. It's all about, and that's how chatbots run, right? But it never became clear until ChatGPT came to the fore, and I became more interested in understanding the back end of how ChatGPT works. And let me make a quick shout out to Ramakrishnan. Is someone on LinkedIn I met while I was preparing for this conversation. He did a very detailed explanation, 104 pages of the ChatGPT and how it has gone over the years to the ChatGPT, and I'm extending it a little bit now to the GPT-4. But that content was a massive piece of work for me to go through, and I enjoyed it. It made it so easy to understand. So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Very simple. Don't stress about it. Generative there means that, it can generate the next word. So you give it a word or you give it a sentence, it can tell you what comes next, right? And it's easy for you to imagine that this is magic, but it's not, right? And when we talk a little bit more as we go in, you will see how far we have come within a very short time, right? So I'm sure if you've used ChatGPT, you know that, if you say something, it knows what next is coming. It also has a memory, and that's the generative part of the GPT. And then the pre-trained means that there is some underlying, in fact, that's where the magic really is, because when I was reflecting on pre-trained, it simply means that, it's like a platform where you're plugging into millions and millions of data, right? And then, in fact, someone described it as going to class. So, if you're a student, you go to class, you stay in the classroom, you don't go home, no baits, no food, no nothing. You stay there for 100 years or 100 days. You're strong, you're healthy, you don't need food, you don't need anything. You just stay there, you're not doing anything. You become a master of what you're doing. That's what happens here. When you expose the system to tons and tons of parameters, of data, of books, of blogs, of different things, right? It begins to learn, and then it begins to anticipate what next you're going to say. So when you say, I want the cat is sitting on, it already goes through the tons and tons of data that it has based on some algorithms that have been built in there. And it knows that you're either going to say on the fence or on the this, or on the chair, or on the that. Those becomes options for it to give you. That's the pre-trained part of GPT. Quite interesting stuff. And the transformer bit is that, it is part of what we call a kind of a neural network. There are many legs to it. It is connected. The connectedness of the platform or the application that makes it, the transformer. So this is just for you to know the name of this GPT, Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Okay, but again, GPT. When we talk about GPT, let's be able to dimension it. GPT is AI. All right, artificial intelligence. And, artificial intelligence is, machines behaving like humans, right? Artificial. intelligent, machines behaving like humans. So rather than going to write my cover letter for application for a job, I just ask the GPT platform to write me a cover letter. So it takes away, that stress from me, and it does the job. So it's artificial intelligence, but I've given it some parameters to be able to do the work, isn't it? So it's good to dimension it that GPT is AI, right? It's AI. And then AI is a bigger part of something that we're going to look at now, which is singularity. Now, I like to give, credence to people when they earn it. The first time I heard of singularity was from a key person I follow on Facebook. He's also on LinkedIn. His name is Charles Awuzie. He's one of Africa's best technologists. He's a cyber person. He's a transhumanist, right? He's also the co-founder of the transhuman coin. It's a crypto project. He's a massive brain, to come out of Africa. I follow him on Facebook, and he puts out very wonderful content regularly. So the first time I heard of this word was from him. And then once I hear something I've not heard before, you know what happens? I go researching, and then I went on studying about it, to know much more about it and stuff like that. So singularity, when we're talking about AI, GPT, it's also a part of singularity. Well, let's go a little bit into singularity and just understand a bit of what it is. Now, singularity is a hypothetical future, right? Future point in time when artificial intelligence and other technologies have advanced to the point where they surpass human intelligence. Now, when you're saying singular, you're talking about, almost being the same. But in this case, we're talking about artificial intelligence and other technologies being ahead of humans. And one of the reasons why it is hypothetical is important to note here that a lot of people don't believe in it, in singularity. In fact, there are ethical considerations to singularity because it touches on the nerves of things that we believed, since when we were born. I will talk a little bit about them as we move on. People just believe that, you are striking them at the parts where they don't want you to. Mostly in this age of religious affiliations, and unfortunately in Africa, where we are very religious, right? Even more religious than those who brought religion to us. We don't want to hear anything about singularity. And when you delve into singularity more, you're talking about nanotechnology, biotechnology, then you're talking about, so let's look at singularity on its own as a word or as a concept, emanated from some man they call Werner Vinge. In the 80s, he wrote a paper. He wrote a paper. And what really amazes me is that this man Werner was, kind of a fictional writer. He was the first person who wrote a kind of a write-up or a book on cyberspace. Cyberspace. We're talking about where artificial humans, engaging with themselves in an artificial environment. Is that what it's happening with metaverse today, where you have, pseudo kind of avatars and all that. These are things, and it was interesting when I read about Werner, fictional writer. Most of the things that have come to be in our time started from, fiction. I don't know if it's ever going to be, but let me just put it down, and eventually becomes, right? So Werner put down, he's a mathematician, he's a computer scientist, he was a professor, and he put down this thought around singularity, thinking that if the progress that he was seeing then in how, artificial intelligence was growing, that if the progress continued at that level, right, that there would come a time where artificial intelligence and machines will be more intelligent than humans, right? And that didn't come out very well with a lot of people, because people felt that at that point their lives would be at risk. There is the social impact, there is the ethical impact. There are many impacts that people felt was not going to happen. And then further down, around 2005, there was another person who actually made singularity very popular. It's called Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil. You can Google him. He wrote. I actually watched a podcast Ray did some months ago, and he's very old now actually. But he actually projected that singularity is going to happen around 2045. That's his projection, right? We're in 2023 now. Say about 22 years time, is that right? About 22 years time, and he's in his own thesis, or hypothesis. He felt that with the way things were going, he wrote a book called Singularity is Near. Singularity is Near. It's a very interesting book. I've seen the synopsis and a few things about the book, but I've not read it though. But I've listened to him talk about his experience growing up, and and all the things that he went through, and how he began to think the way he thinks. In fact, the person who anchored the podcast asked him a bit about religion and singularity, and he's a realist. He's somebody who believes in reality. So he believes that the improvements that singularity brings will improve human lifespan, human intelligence, physical capabilities, and a lot of things. So, and there are examples where even in the past, I think it was in 1997 or so, there was a computer program. I think it was called Deep Blue. Yeah, Deep Blue. A computer program that defeated a chess champion. I think his name was Gary. Defeated a chess champion. So a computer program was developed to test, to compete with a chess champion, and he defeated him. There was another case in 2016 where Google developed what they call AlphaGo AI or so, and it also defeated a champion as well on the board game, in 2016. So it's been coming where where we say that machines are beginning to outsmart humans. But what you've been seeing is more of what we call specialist situations. I think those were the arguments people came up with to say the machine is only specialized in that game and can play that game, right? So people argued that the machine cannot do more than that particular thing, but a human being can do multiple things. That was the argument people had then. But let's come forward now in this era of, so when you're looking at singularity, there's what we call technological singularity, which is much of what I've talked about. Talk of artificial intelligence, computing power, biotechnology, nanotechnology. And then there's what we call artificial general intelligence. So in artificial general intelligence, we're saying that artificial intelligence or machines would behave in a more general form, more intellectually better than humans, in a more general form, and not just specifics, right? And you can begin to see what's happening with the GPT, right? At least the GPT that's made the headlines is the ChatGPT, up to this time. And you've seen the kind of change or the kind of intelligence embedded in the ChatGPT. It has memory, it can engage you in conversations, it has the ability to say no, right? Which is something some humans cannot do. It has the ability to say, no, I'm not going to give you answers to this question you're asking. It's unethical, is this, is that, And then you talk about the transhumanism, which is an area where I'm beginning to find very interesting. And thanks to Charles Awuzie, who has really heightened my interest in transhumanism. I said Charles has a crypto project called Transhuman Coin, and that project is doing excellently well. And transhumanism is simple. It's saying that using technology to enhance human capabilities. And in transhumanism, they're saying humans can work together with machines or technology to improve lifespan, to improve functionalities of the human body. And, these things have been coming. In 2012, I think, um, there was an award that was given, the Nobel Prize in medicine was given to, I think she's either a Japanese or so, Yakanata or so, that's her name, for developing some solution that helped to improve the life, the capacity of a mice to survive, right? And then over that period as well, people have built on those technologies to improve on. As we speak now, there are solutions that help a mice, for instance, to live times 2 of its age. A mice usually will live for maybe 2 years, but we have some mice that live for 5 years. We have some insects that have been developed to live for huge numbers of years. So in terms of animals and all that, this longevity, organ regeneration is already working. In fact, there's what is called regenerative medicine. Regenerative medicine, if you study it, is something very also topical in the US and in the UK here. Regenerative medicine, where people can use tissues from their bodies to heal or to help other parts of their body, right? And so things are happening. Transhumanism is really interesting. I think the song of Bob Dylan, where he sang, "Forever young, I want to live forever young." I think this is really coming to make sense now, to be honest, because we really all want to live young. And I dare say that transhumanism is one of the areas where people, mostly the religious people, find very difficult to understand, because we're taught that, you live, I think the Bible says, 70, that's 70 or so if you're strong. And so we're kind of conditioned to believe that we can't live longer, into that when you begin to live very old, you suffer and stuff like that. But I think it's also God who has given us the power of science, to do things and to change things. So it's that mindset shift that we need to begin to have, that the same way that we never believed you could have a generative pre-trained transformer where you can sit down and just have something generate a task that would have taken you 2 hours or 2 days, do it in 1 hour. The same way we never believed was going to happen, and it is happening today, is the same way transhumanism may become. Again, I use the word may because it's still very much a hypothetical, concern. So people are still doubting about whether it's going to happen. But with the way things are going, with the way we're able to improve in our protein models and all that, with the use of technology, transhumanism doesn't look to me anymore hypothetical. It looks like something that's going to happen only with time. Okay, so let's run faster. Let's now talk about GPT. I just wanted to kind of situate GPT as part of, a big part of singularity, because singularity is saying that we're talking about a time where machines will be smarter than humans. Now we're talking about a GPT, and I'm making, when I talk GPT in general terms, I'm referring to ChatGPT, where you see a system or a tool that is super intelligent. So you can see how close we are getting to singularity. So that's why I wanted to situate it within the whole big picture of singularity. So GPT, what is GPT? GPT is a mathematical model trained to predict the next word in a sentence using a set of rules. Now, this is really interesting because the real work, or the real back end, and really, I keep making reference to Rama on LinkedIn. Thank you so much for that piece of work. There is so much that happens at the back end with the set of rules, right? And we're not going to go into that, but just to know that that's actually what makes the GPT intelligent, because there are a lot of prioritization, there's a lot of what they call fine-tuning, there are a lot of rules that go at the back end, leveraging the millions and millions of parameters from books on the internet, from blogs, from, everything on the internet to train them to give you the proper answer or near to proper answer that you want. Just a caveat, the ChatGPT is not 100% correct, but it is largely correct. And we're going to also teach you here today how to ensure that you improve your response correctness rate on the ChatGPT or the GPT-4 that's coming. So look at the journey, and this is really interesting. What really struck me on this journey here is that within 5 years, from 2018 to 2023, we've had some massive growth in the generative AI, right? So if you look at the whole GPT it has a kind of a journey, right? And the first GPT came out in June 2018. So again, like I said, you have you have the GPT, and then what it does is that it has underlying parameters. So just look at it this way, as a platform, right? You have Facebook that you log into every now and then you have millions of people at the back of, connecting to Facebook. And then you can post something and it goes into that, that space, and you're able to get visibility. Now, look at it that way. You have a platform that has been trained with data. Now, the difference between the intelligence of each of them lies hugely on the amount of data connected to the solution, right? Or it's called parameters, right? In GPT, which is the most basic of the generative AIs, we had about 117 million parameters that were on the back end of this, right? 117 million parameters on the back end of GPT. Okay, now, so can you explain what is meant by singularity? Okay, I think we've done that already. Yeah, and someone is saying really great topic. Thank you. The numbers are mind blowing. I can tell you that. And then between 2018 and 2019, just about less than a year, GPT-2 came out, right? Now with 1.5 billion parameters. And, at that point, we felt that, this was huge progress. And then not too long after that, they amended with the GPT-3. And some people will say there's a GPT 3.5, but the basic model was the GPT-3, which came out in 2020 with 175 billion parameters. Remember that the distinguishing factor between any of the generative models, whether it's 2, GPT, 3, or whatever, is the fact that it's able to predict the next text. The baseline has always been around text. So it can do text. So you tell it A, B, C, it's able to tell you D, E, F. Okay? So it predicts. But the difference is that from each of them, they have more parameters linked to them. So with more data, you have more information. You're able to train the machine more to give you more accurate answers. And then comes the big one. In November last year, ChatGPT came out from nowhere. And then we got to know that it still runs on the ChatGPT 3, but it has now what they call the conversational AI capability. So you can converse with it. You can have a conversation with it. In fact, 3 years ago, I was doing a project on conversational AI. I was deploying it for a big bank, a conversational AI tool, and this is really mind-blowing because the fact that you can have a conversation with your computer means that we've gone really far. And then now, just yesterday or within last week, we had news that this week we're going to have the GPT-4, which is going to have, of course, there is a lot of people are saying these are just rumors, But again, that's how it starts really. And the rumor says that it's going to have over 100, approximately between 10 and 100 trillion parameters. That's going to be mind blowing. And now that's not just the good part of it. We're going to go into, some bits of what makes GPT-4 a little bit exciting and a little bit scary as well. But before we do that, let's look at this whole ChatGPT that we're talking about. What are the use cases? Because we have barely digested ChatGPT and GPT-4 is about to show, right? But the good thing about this is that what it means is that we are able to, we're growing. You can see the speed at which the growth is happening. This is usually what they call exponential growth. Usually in these kinds of models, you would want one model could come out in a year and the next model will come out in 2 years' time or 3 years' time. But we're seeing models come out within 6 months of the other. That's exponential growth, right? Now, ChatGPT has thousands and thousands of use cases. Thousands and thousands of use cases. But that's why I said this is not exhaustive. I've just picked a few that interests me, to say, if you want to develop your slides, you want to have slides that, and the good thing with ChatGPT is that it now has an API. So if you know what an API is that you are able to connect it with your application, and then you can call data or pass data from the GPT to your application or vice versa. So GPT now has APIs for different users. In fact, Snapchat, this is very interesting. Snapchat is one of the first users or first companies to integrate to the ChatGPT. And now on your Snapchat, there's a chat called what's the name of the chat? My AI. It's called there on your Snapchat. You can ask your Snapchat questions just like you would ask ChatGPT, and it will answer you. So you can see how interesting this is coming. There is the one for formulas, Excel formulas, right? We can post this later on the Roadmap MBA page, just so if you need to copy this, you can pick it up. And then there is the one for solving business problems. This is very interesting. This one is very interesting. It helps you collaborate with ideas and then bring out ideas into solutions and stuff like that. And so many of them, the Excel formulas, the presentation, another one, slides AI. Some people have argued really that some of these tools or some of these pages are not necessarily ChatGPT, but what no one can argue is the fact that these are advanced technologies that are making life easier for us. And while people are afraid of AI, what they should fear is the speed of learning new things. So if you're not able to catch up with the things coming out, that's where you should fear. Because today, you can easily prepare a slide that usually would have taken you 1 week. You can prepare it in 1 hour. Because AI, you're able to get information from everywhere. And if you think you can do that in 1 hour with ChatGPT, then wait for GPT-4 for me to tell you what's happening there. And then for students, you can use Quillbot to avoid your plagiarisms. There's also Quizlet, which is a global learning platform. It has a Q chat. And then for those who want to order groceries, Instacart that has a very nice integration to ChatGPT. Okay, so just go on there, look for what you can use it for. In anything that you usually would ask Google today, ChatGPT would answer it. I'm sure the Google guys won't like me for saying this, but that's the truth. And unfortunately, my Google now is ChatGPT. Every question I have, because it talks to me. I don't want to go and start going through tons and tons of links, but again, I still go back to Google sometimes to confirm the information, because like we said, it's not all, it's not 100% correct. Okay. Now let's look at GPT-4 that we're talking about. What's new with GPT-4? Why is it different? So just like you had the conversational part of of ChatGPT, it's also conversational, right? Which is good. And like I said, it's expected to have over 100 trillion parameters, in case, yeah. So sometimes as well, the more the parameters as well means that there's processing issues with the platform. So those are the downsides of more parameters as well. So, but again, the good side is that there is more information to to train, right? And then this is one of the most exciting parts of the GPT-4 is that it is multimodal. And when you say it's multimodal, it can respond and it can take inputs in text, image, video, and sound. That's like never seen before. So you can actually, in fact, someone said that movie writers or script writers for movies, we should be worried at the moment because I can just come and GPT-4 can provide me not just the script, but the cast and everything right there. And then I just go and replicate it, right? So the world is literally going to change. And, Steve and myself were discussing over a period, and we said, any business today that sells content alone, content as an education platform or something, will definitely run out of business with GPT and ChatGPT because content is everywhere. Now, the real thing and that's why we are very intentional on the Roadmap MBA. We go the extra mile. We do the so what. What next? Now you have the education. Now you have the information. Now you have access to everything. What next? Making sense of it, putting the human side of it, out there for everyone, sharing those practical experiences, which the machine won't tell you. Of course, remember, the machine cannot tell you, it had a bad day or something. So these are the kinds of it may happen. Let's not say it won't happen. It may happen very soon. Where you come to talk to the GPT and tell you, I'm not in the mood today. Please try it next time. It could happen because we're training, machines to behave like humans. Okay. And another interesting one is the fact that it is going to be multilingual. This is really, really, really interesting. This is really interesting. So I'm looking for that day when I can come to GPT, and since it accepts sound, I can speak my local Igbo language to GPT-4 and tell it what I want. So what it simply means is that my grandmother in southeastern Nigeria, who is not very well educated, can speak into ChatGPT and get something done, right? So it's, happy times ahead of us. So, but these are all, people are saying, these are all rumors. But you know what? We are better informed to wait for the realities to happen, okay? So, and, this is where we talk about the so what. In the whole of all this, GPT, technological singularity, artificial general intelligence, how do I position myself to be different, right? How do I position myself to play in this market? One of the things we've mentioned earlier is that things are changing exponentially now. And the winners in this phase or in this new reality or in this future are people who are able to learn and unlearn very fast. Learn and unlearn very fast. So people need to do that. You need to be able to learn something new and unlearn the old one you knew and move on very fast because information is coming very, as more faster than we can even imagine. Faster than we can imagine. So you have to be constantly engaging with reality. And that's why we always encourage people to stay in tune with Roadmap MBA, because on this platform, we're constantly sharing the what next, the breaking news, and how it impacts everyone. So, like I said, one of the skills you need to learn is learning and unlearning with speed. Learning and unlearning with what? With speed. Now, another one is what I call prompt engineering. This is really interesting because when I was researching or just going through the research for this reflection, I came across prompt engineering. Now, for you to be able to, I said I was going to teach you how to improve your correctness on GPT, whether ChatGPT or GPT-4. You know, let's still remember that this is computer. It's and the old saying that computer is what baggage in, baggage out. So it's what you give to it that it gives back to you, right? Or it is how you make it feel that it responds to you. So if you don't prompt the chat properly, if you don't prompt it well, then it doesn't give you the right response. And that's why that percentage error is still there. So you need to be able to play down that percentage error a lot by becoming a prompt engineer. And let me give you a tip. Prompt engineering is going to be something huge in the near future. So you may want to stick along here. Now, the first thing you want to do when you're putting a message on the chat, or when you're putting a message on the chat, or when you're trying to ask a question, is to act as what you're asking it, right? So if you want to ask a question, you want to ask ChatGPT, for instance. This is also very relevant for ChatGPT. You want to ask ChatGPT about, your assignment. You're writing about maybe you're writing about the fintech industry in the UK, right? Now, you want to tell ChatGPT the context you're writing, and you act as a student of the university. You don't just also want to just say a student of the university. You want to say as a master's student, right? I am writing a research, or I'm doing a research on the fintech industry in the UK. Then you ask your question. What you've just done is that, because the computer also, remember, there are rules at the back end that enables it to give you the answer you want. Now, if you don't give it as much specificity as required, it picks something that is not. So that's what we call the weighted score that at the back end of these algorithms. So if, for instance, there are 100 answers to a question, right? The computer has the weights of different answers based on the question. Now, if you ask a question and one of the weights is 0.2 and the other one is 0.5, normally it's supposed to give you the 0.5 first before it comes down to give you the 0.2. And that's why in ChatGPT, it can give you different answers each time you click regenerate. Remember, if you go to ChatGPT, it gives you an answer, you click regenerate. But the one with the greatest weight is the most appropriate. So if you don't give it the right questions to be able to give you the most appropriate answer, it gives you the less appropriate one. And what happens is that there you now begin to have your percentage errors, if that makes any sense. So you must act as what you want to ask it. You're telling it, oh, I'm this, I'm an engineer, I need this, as a teacher, as a this, as a that. You must give it context. So it goes into its repository and begin to search for what is very much related to what you need. Now, and the second thing there is background information. You need to give it some background information into what you're asking, right? Just so that you don't confuse it. It's very easy to also get confused, right? You need to give background information. What do you need it for? I'm writing a thesis, or I'm doing a research to help. But again, let it be concise. That's where we come to the last one there, the clarity and brevity. But before that, iterative elaborations. You need to be able to elaborate on what you want or what the question is that you're asking. Elaborate on it, right? So you can start from when you're doing a research, you start from the big picture and then you narrow down. It's usually called the funnel approach. The funnel approach is also very relevant here in getting the best answers from GPT. So let's say you want to find out about electric cars. You can start with sustainability as a bigger picture, right? And then you begin to elaborate down into electric cars. That way, you're leading the bot, to give you the right answers, because it's already gotten into the sphere of sustainability. It can now fetch more information for you within there as you narrow down further to electric cars. And then, like I said, clarity, you have to be clear about what you're asking and, be very concise. Something that is very important is that as we go into more GPTs, maybe GPT-4 and all that, there will be need for people to get, to get more answers quicker on the GPT, but they won't have time to start generating the prompts. So we're going to, this is like a prediction that we're going to have a prompt marketplace very soon, where people sell prompts. So you have taken your time to say, you have won the, say this person may need this, and then you prepare different prompts for different uses of different people, and people come there to buy prompts to go and use it on their GPT. Yeah, this is something that's going to happen. So you can as well decide to start, going ahead of time and preparing for this reality. I think we're rounding off. This is the last slide. And the last thing I wanted to talk about is, people are scared. What kind of job roles will still be available in this era, in this GPT era, or in this technological singularity era? While it's understandable, everybody will not be coders. Everybody will not be DevOps. Everybody will not be, in the core tech space. But it is good for everybody to have an idea of what's happening. I'm not a technology person, but you can see me anchoring a reflection on artificial intelligence, right? And that's where what these co-connector roles mean. A connector role is, or a role that means that you can connect many facets of learnings into solving a problem, right? And that's what we try to propagate on the Roadmap MBA, where we try to ensure that people are able to learn different things. We teach, we reflect on different things on the MBA. And if you follow through, you are able to learn, you're able to broaden your scope, right? So when conversations happen in those spheres, you're able to make inputs, on them. So in the future of singularity or artificial general intelligence, there will be the need to align technical, business, and human elements to achieve business value, right? So connector roles will be relevant, such as design architects. So people who sit at that point and design a product or design a strategy, right? You're not just sitting there, you are coordinating the teams. You are coordinating the technical guys, you are coordinating the people, everybody, you're coordinating. So those kinds of roles, so even when you have the DevOps, the people, somebody still has to sit in there and coordinate everyone to achieve the value that you need in the, in the business. So consultants, board advisory roles, these are roles that you can easily, prepare yourself for to stay relevant. So no matter what happens with technology, somebody has to articulate the strategy. Somebody still has to, sit in there and bridge that gap between technology, people, and the business. Okay, so specialist skills as well that you need: leadership, social dynamics, communication, creativity, and I talked about hybrid thinking. Where you are able to leverage different kinds of experience. System thinking, whatever kinds of things that you find yourself, design thinking, and you are able to bring all of them together to make sense of it, to create value for yourself and for your organization. So it's been interesting. That's been, the whole conversations around GPT-4. The world says it is a rumor, but we want to be ready whenever it happens, such that we're not taking unawares. So go out there and study a little bit more, prepare yourself for the future. I think 2023 is one year that we won't forget in a long time, honestly. It's one year that we would say technology grew so much, so exponentially. So until next time, thank you for tuning in, and continue learning, continue being safe, and enjoy yourselves. Thank you very much.